Hello there. GM Lurchington here with another episode of Star Wars Showdown on Iceball Station.
What slide
We
are we
come
on?
back
Sorry, I'm
to
sorry.
we are not on a slide. We're at the bottom of the ocean.
Oh shit.
Narset
Okay.
Jinn, you have been traveling for the better part of the day. It took you you have no sense of time, frankly, down here in the pitch black depth of the ocean, but your own, personal sense of self, honed through years of survival and Jedi training. You know that it has been most of the day to make your way from the island down to the sea floor, with no stopping. You have visited the deepest rift, where the first of many, many crabs strived and died, and Salvax finally led the little crabs, to their first new home. As you now approach just the beginning of the slope up from the sea floor, that will eventually bring you back to the shore, the shaman stops here, at the edge of what you know is going to be a many, many hour climb back up towards the surface from the bottom. Once you approach closely enough that he is within the bubble of air that you have been projecting around yourself with the force.
I was gonna
down
say,
here,
it's not really a bubble, it's like literally
just around you. Okay. Well, once you come close enough, he gestures towards you. So go ahead and make another alter check so that you can make a space for him to speak to you here at the bottom of the sea. It's
I
going to be.
I can still hear him. I was just gonna ask if you wanted me to like completely redo the alter check, or
Yeah, you're going to make another alter check anyway because you have
or
to
just
continue.
like
You're going to have to
leave.
continue to sustain it, so you're going to have to make another alter check here anyway. And he.
Because we're deeper down. That's right. I remember this.
And now you're going to come back up again, so you're going to have to a red and 2 purple down here under the crushing depths in the pitch blackness. You really can only see maybe as far as your arms extent, even with your lightsaber and the fusion lantern, both providing illumination.
Hey, I know the fusion lantern is still turned on. The lightsaber isn't.
So you did not
3 threat.
3 threat, no success, but you can turn your light side points into successes or advantages in order to, activate and bring your bubble of atmosphere with you again. So you're going to have to take those threat as strain. But you're given time to gather yourself again here at the bottom of this enormous slope that eventually will lead back to the surface. And as you do, the Salvex shaman tells you the next part of his tale.
Current strain, just so I have that bearing in mind.
We're at 6 of 15, so you're now at 9 of 15 strain.
Okey-doke.
But you're not exactly going to be able to rest and sleep overnight.
Eat some kelp real
down
quick.
here, you're going to have to push onward. The Salvex shaman, as you are gathering yourself for this ascent, tells you the next part of your story. He says,
"For many years, the little crabs lived on the rift, eating the little grasses and watching the bubble travel up and up. Many crabs tried to follow.
He points up the enormous slope.
Here we find the second climb. Many crabs tried, and many crabs died. But eventually, Salvax reached the summit. He returned, and he brought the little crabs with him."
He points up towards the dim, faint glow coming down from up above, from the surface. He goes,
"We will now ascend to the bay, and I will show you the third home of the Salvax."
And then he begins climbing. And based on the fact that it took you a couple of hours to go down this slope, it's going to be a long time heading up. So we're going to start off with a survival check. Narset Jinn, as you make your way across and up the sea floor, following the Salvax shaman here, so that you don't draw any untoward attention to yourself, and navigate the terrain
Can I do
as well as possible. So vigilance will be the roll that you'll need to make if the survival check doesn't go well. But let's make the survival check first. You know what I mean? It's going to be a red. I
don't know why there's such a huge difference between those. Like my survival is literally 2 greens, but my vigilance is 3 greens, a blue box, and a negative setback.
Because you have talents that relate to your vigilance, and it is based off of a different ability than survival is. However, as a young lady who was raised in the jungles of Dathomir, your fellow witches would find your meager 2 greens of survival skill to be laughably insufficient. They would say, the lives of the Jedi are so soft that you cannot even start a fire on your own.
I can spot out a predator a mile away, though, it seems.
Yeah, so, well, I mean, yeah, you've focused on your elf eyes a lot.
I can spot the mountain lion, and then I'll kill the mountain lion and eat it, but I don't know how to start a fire.
Yeah, well, you don't recognize the mountain lion until you can see it. You know what I mean?
There we go.
Is that a woman screaming, and then you run towards it, and suddenly...
Fucking banshee, yeah.
Exactly. So, it's going to be a red and 2 purple down here at the bottom of the ocean. The Salvax Sherpa, or shaman, is leading you, so you'll get a boost from that.
Can I get a boost?
You'll get a boost from him leading you. You won't get a boost from your walking stick. That'll be for the athletics check. That comes later during the more vertical part of the climb here. But right now, things aren't quite as up as they are going to be later. And you succeeded. So
Nice.
During the first gentler part, as the seafloor begins to slope up towards the eventual volcanic peak, towering far above the ocean surface, you are able to follow along quite adeptly behind the shaman. Despite the vast ocean around you and the pitch darkness and the alien environment, you don't find yourself discomfited because, well, it's still not as scary as those first lonely nights on Dathomir before you were found by your sisters were. Like, being lost in the woods. You already did that, and the witches found you, and it was fine.
There is Jumanji.
Right, yeah, you already grew up in Jumanji. You're not worried about this. So you're able to follow along behind him. Right. The terrain begins to get more vertical, however, and starts to slope more directly towards the surface. Yes, exactly. Upper and upper. So now you're going to have to make an athletics check, as you are almost literally climbing at this point after the shaman, as he is just walking on his legs up this sheer vertical surface. It is going to be a red and 2 purples, of an athletics check, with a setback from the fact that it is so very, very, very cold down here in the dark. You get a boost from your walking stick at this point to continue the climb, Narset Jinn. All right, so again, you did not succeed, but you have light side points that you can convert into successes. So you will, if you convert one of those light side points into a success to succeed at your check, and the other light side point into an advantage to cancel out one of those 2 threats, you succeed, only taking 1 more strain, as you are now vertically following your way. You're underwater, so you do have that going for you, and you're able to pull yourself sort of up this nearly vertical slope behind the chieftain. But you have still not reached...
Water currents. There's water currents and shit.
Mm-hmm. You still have not reached the end of this portion of the climb where it levels back out at the bottom of the bay, however, there is yet another leg to this hours-long journey behind the shaman as you proceed up towards the light. It is getting brighter and brighter as you head up, however, now, and you're able to see things beyond the bubble of light projected by the devices that you carry with you out to perhaps 10 meters in every direction at this point. And as you look up above you, it's almost a dark, bluish gray there, as opposed to the blackness to your sides or below. But it's going to be another athletics check with a red and a purple now as things begin to become less vertical and slope more horizontally towards the mouth of the inlet where the Salvex set up.
And I'm at 10 out of 15 strain. Strain last time. Failure.
You were at 10 out of 15. It is a failure. You have 2 force points that you can turn that failure from 1 failure to nothing to 1 success if you use both of your dark side points as successes. It'll require flipping a destiny point and taking 2 strain to do that. But you are able to. The force is not flowing easily. It is cold and it has been all day, but you can reach out and pull some of that strength, into you. Otherwise, you're going to fall behind and you're going to have to make yet another check to catch up with the shaman before you achieve the summit,
Reach out and flip a destiny point.
And then you can use those 2 advantages to recover the 2 strain that you take, so you won't even actually take strain for it, because those 2 advantage will cancel the 2 strain that you take for using the dark side points. So you'll have to flip a destiny point.
Still 10 at 15.
Right, still 10 of 15, but Narset is down there, and she is. It feels like determination to you, Narset. If you were to justify it to yourself, it's just determination. And that's all. It's nothing beyond just, being very determined to get this done.
But deep down, the darkness stirs in her.
Right, but you reach out there and you pull something into yourself to bolster yourself. Right, Narset says...
Swearing? He's swearing the whole time.
Fuck!
This is bubbles streaming up from her as she soundlessly... Right, the camera pulls back just enough to see the bubbles streaming up out of her mouth as she follows. But eventually, you level out here now, and the depth of the water is only 20 meters deep now, here at the mouth of this inlet, and you look up forward, and you see again, now after a long day down in the dark, the head-high, tall, healthy grasses that are growing from the floor of this bay, fed by all of the vents here. And the shaman turns and gestures towards it, and he goes,
Salvex taught us to tend the larger grass. This is the 3rd home of the Salvex. After we were brought from the sea floor to the vent, and now here to the light. And
it's like, because the ice is all melted above this bay, because the water is warm from the vents, you are, able to see far, almost all the way into shore from here. So that's the 3rd station. From the floor of the sea, feeding the dead detritus, up to the mouth of that little rift at the bottom of the ocean, the small crabs, and then up the slope of this island to the floor of this bay as slightly larger crabs. Salvex has been bringing his people always upward towards something that is more and greater above them, where they go from feeding on dead things to nibbling on these small grasses to now finally tending these larger grasses at the floor of the bay. After the long trudge, the shaman gives you time to rest, and you can make a discipline or cool check against no difficulty dice and recover strain equal to the number of successes that you generate.
Just in time, too. You were getting there.
At the end of an encounter, you get to do a strain recovery. If Zavix had been taking a bunch of strain while he was talking to Spider there, I would have, given him that opportunity. But he wasn't rolling a lot of threats. He just wasn't getting successes.
Right.
I rolled only one time using the force or anything like that. I think that was when the strain hit.
Yeah. And also, the next thing you're doing is the end of your day, and then you recover all strain when you, sleep. So, all right, Narset recovers 1 strain from her 1 success. Check your talents. If you have any ranks of the rapid recovery talent, you might be able to get a little more.
I think so.
Okay, so you just have 1. You recover 1 strain. As you rest there, you're going to have to cast your...
Advantages do nothing.
The advantages can give you a boost die to the next check you're going to make. And that will be to refresh your altar for the rest of the journey back. Because the shaman understands that even though you've been able to undertake this mighty task of traveling all the way down to the sea floor and making the climb back up with him in one go, he's not going to expect you to stay overnight, at the bottom of the you're a land dweller,
Right.
So you're going to refresh altar, and then he's going to bring you back to shore.
He's like, okay, point taken, you can hang. Now go back where
Right,
you're
you
safe.
did it. Right. Now we'll go back to the shore where we can talk, and you don't have to be projecting a bubble of oxygen around you constantly. But that was very impressive. He's never seen anybody airbend before.
Never seen anyone swear so much underwater.
You've been underwater now all day. You're going to have to flip another destiny point and turn that dark side point into usable in order to turn your 2 failures into 1 success if you want to be able to breathe on your way back. So you're going to have to flip another destiny point and take a strain. And then you can recover the strain as well with your advantages. So it's not coming easily.
I'm still at 10.
It's not coming easily, Narset. You feel tapped out at this point, and you haven't you have expanded this much of yourself physically or in the force in a long time at this point after this journey. But the shaman goes,
before we return to the shore, I must tell you of the 3rd climb. After Salvex brought us here into the light, we grew strong.
So the first climb was from the floor to the low rift. The second climb was from the low rift up here to the mouth of the bay. The 3rd climb will be from the floor of the bay up onto the shore. He goes,
I tell you now of the 3rd climb. Once Salvex brought the little crabs into the light, they grew strong. They learned not to eat the grasses, but to tend them, and they became much as we are now. However, these were still only crabs of the sea, and they still looked upward, towards the shoreline. Many crabs climbed shore, and many crabs died. But eventually Salvax was successful. Salvax taught us to brave the beasts of the shore and to become crabs of the land. We still tend the grass, but now we live in the light.
And then he leads you through basically what are cultivated aquaculture fields being worked by Salvex farmers here at the floor of this inlet up onto the shore again. And as you come out of the water, you see that the juvenile Ravnax, make way for him as he comes up and begins gesturing with his staff. And he brings you back up onto the shore. He goes,
It was a later Salvex who taught us the next climb.
But at this point, the light is falling and is very low over the bay. And he says,
"But I will tell you that tomorrow."
He turns and begins much slower now than he was during his trip down to the rift to make his way across the land back towards his hut. Exactly. Tara is not just there waiting for you. You've been all day. But we're going to close out on you with him, heading off, and we'll deal with, you filling her in at another time. Because Narset's already, it's been the entire day. Now you're back up on the shore. You have an opportunity in the dim light to observe the staff that you used your lightsaber to free this pillar, like wrist-thick pillar of volcanic stone, long enough to serve as a quarterstaff, and quite similar to the one that the Salvak shaman himself has been sporting. You cut it from the mouth of the rift down at the bottom of the ocean where the first Salvaks, made their lives after their first climb, and you've brought it back up here. And as you hold it in your hands, you can feel the resonance of the Force, whether it's from this planet or from how much you've had the Force flowing through yourself today, while you were carrying it. But you could already feel as if it was starting to be a part of you. Exactly. Not to the degree that your lightsaber crystal, sings a song, that you hear in your heart down there on your hip. But, as you feel the staff, it is there in your hand in a very real way. And we'll leave Narset pondering that at the edge of the bay.